Okay, guys, I think this is enough time for waiting for the others to arrive. We can start with the ones that are here. David has Blady, Lady. Good morning. It's nice to see you there. Can you listen to me?
Yes, teacher, I can listen to you.
Okay, perfect. So I hope that all of you are listening loud and clear because we are going to start this encounter right now. Welcome to the week one. During this encounter, we are going to talk about teaching social emotional skills critical in pandemic. I am your tutor, Elvis Tavares, and this is going to be the first activity of the encounter. Okay, we are going to start with a warm-up activity in which all of us are going to introduce. So as I said before, I am Elvis Tavares. I am your English tutor. I work as an English teacher and also an English translator. I live in El Valle de Aburrá, which is in Antioquia in the south, in a city that is called Envigado. I am 35 years old. I was born in Medellin, but now I have been living in Envigado for a long time. I am single and I don't have children yet. I'm planning to do that, but not yet. And I hope that we can have a great time during these encounters because the idea is to practice that skill that is very difficult and that sometimes we don't have people to practice with, which is the speaking part. So I invite all of you to have fun in these encounters, to lose fear, and to try to speak as much as you can because that is the idea to practice. So I want to listen to you guys. Let's start with Carolina Torres. Carolina, I didn't make sure that, okay, Carolina hasn't arrived yet. So let's go with Hasblady. Hasblady, can you please give a little introduction about yourself? Maybe using
Okay,
1 minute.
okay, teacher. Good morning, everyone. My name is Hasblady Penilla Pineda. I live in Cartago. Um, I'm studying English. I work government Valle del Cauca. Um, I like to make exercise three times per week. I'm single. I live with my mom and brother. Um, uh, Sometimes every Sunday I live I work with my mom. Um, I practice reading every Saturday, English reading. Is my life is good. Is good. Um, I don't know. I don't know to tell you.
What else to say? Don't worry, that is enough, Hasblady. Thank you very much. What
Thank you,
about
teacher.
David? Hey, David.
Hey, teacher. Nice to meet you, everyone. My name is David Julian Martinez Gallo. I'm from Bogota city, and I'm living this moment in Ciudad Verde, Soacha, in Cundinamarca. In this moment, I'm not working. Uh, I am 35 years old, and I hope lost fear in these encounters because I am a little nervous because I need to practice more the these abilities, the speaking and the other skills that is very important to develop as a teachers and as a student. And I'm not have children, and I am single. And that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, David. And last but not least, let's listen to Lady.
Hello, my name is Lady Joana Perez Murillo. I am from Ocaña Norte de Santander. I am 39 years old. I am married. I have 2 children. I am housewife and a student. My expectation in this meeting is learn as much as possible from each session.
Okay, thank you very much, Lady. So, welcome. It's nice that the three of you are here. Unfortunately, the others maybe are having problems to get connected, but anyways, we can continue this encounter. This is something very important that I want to continue with, that is the instructions for task number 2. Remember that you are in this task of your conversation course, and I'm gonna give you a little short explanation about the things of this encounter so that everything is clear. Remember that this is a 8-week encounter, and it will be 13 points worthy plus the 16 points of your individual journal, okay? For a total of 120 points for task number 2. So remember, guys, the 13 points are gonna be given by me, but the plus 16 points are gonna be, they are up to you because you have to get the individual journal. So don't forget, please, to take the screenshot of every encounter as an evidence for the journal that you have to give at the end of the course. Remember that we are going to have like the interaction, the quality of the participation, the domain of the topic, grammar and pronunciation, and other aspects about the communicative skills. Remember that every Friday or Saturday you are going to receive an article. So you already have the article of last week, that is the one that we are going to discuss today. But maybe today or maybe yesterday you received the new article that is going to be discussed for the next week. Okay, so remember that we are over here in this stage presenting a 2-minute summary of the article about teaching social emotional skills. Okay, so is everything clear, guys, about the task number 2? Yes? Do you have any
Yes, it's
questions?
clear.
Okay, nice. Thank you for answering and checking out. So now let's go to the next stage. Guys, remember that it's up to you to take the evidence, to take the screenshot of this encounter. So you look for the time, you see whenever it's appropriate to take it, and then you can keep the record because it's necessary to get the 16 points in the rubric. Let's continue with the topic. Today we are going to discuss a very interesting topic that concerns all of us in the planet because it's about the pandemic situation that we are living during this day, and something that started like back there in 2019, finishing that year, and so far we are continue dealing with this situation. So I have this motivational quote: the outbreak of novel coronavirus pneumonia will inevitably have a relatively big impact on the economy and society. So for us, this is a crisis and it's also a big test. Let's talk about facing the future, the lessons to be learned from this pandemic, guys. So for that reason, I have some opening questions over here. You the three of you, or the ones that are here, are going to speak for 1 to 2 minutes, expressing your opinions about these two questions. How the pandemic changed your life, and did it affect your personal life and your families? I'm going to give you some time to think about the response, and then I'm going to call one by one so that you can give me an answer. Okay? So I'm going to go over here, look for the timer. And guys, you are going to receive like 1 minute to prepare your speech. Okay, I think that is enough time for speaking about this topic. And I want to call Hasblady to tell us about these two questions. What do you think about the two questions, please? Can you start speaking?
Okay, teacher. The pandemic, yes, I checked my life for the economic, the base increase, very much the bed. We must reduce my money the paid other dent for family, my family took the situation is for economic. We had we difficult for money. Also, our city is danger for situation economic increase danger. They are people violent for they needing the hat and money the other didn't for their family. Other people had difficult more my family and me. I understand they, but is no good. People want violent other person.
Okay. Time is up. Thank you very much, Hasblady.
Thank you, teacher.
So you have a very good point, which is the reduction of money. You know, the pandemic not also affected the system of the health system, but also the economic aspect of society. So it was something that touched everyone. But I recommend you to continue practicing and gain more vocabulary so that you can give examples and details about different things, okay? Because you have the idea, which is the money and the economic aspect, but you constantly repeat it during the 2 minutes. So maybe you can talk about the money aspect and giving examples about your family or your neighbors or details or things that you watch in the news. And in that way, you can just add more information to your speech, which was okay. It was very nice. Thank you, Hasplady.
Thank you, teacher.
Now, let's go to listen over here to David Julian. What do you have to tell us about these two questions, David?
Okay, teacher. In my case, my life was changed because I lost my work about this pandemic situation because the companies reduced the personnel and I was affected for this reason. And also in the practice, pedagogical practice, we have to teaching and learning in virtual environments and to carry out the classes in the using different tools, technological tools, and for some people it's a little difficult because they don't have the practice for the use of these tools, and it was changed. It's a challenge for everyone, for as a like us, as a teachers, as a members of a family, as a students, to carry out all the activities that we we need to carry out in our daily life and affect my family also in their works because now for example, my sister she need to work in and spend a lot of hours in front of the computer working in her bedroom, and sometimes it is very stressful for her. And yes, is all, teacher.
Thank you
Thank you.
very much. Yes, you covered the 2 minutes there. I was giving you time just to finish your idea. I didn't want to just interrupt you, but you cover the mission. That was nice. I have some suggestions for you that sometimes we are talking about past and verbs like, and you know, to identify when is a verb with am and when is a verb with just the verb. Like when you say, I am lost my job, so the am is not necessary there because you just lost your job. And when we are talking about other people or other person, in this case that you were talking about your sister, that she needs to work in her house, right? So we have to emphasize in the pronunciation of the S at the end of the verb when we are talking about she, he, or it, because in present you have to use the S for the third person. So, but the rest of it, it was nice because I understood everything that you said. Thank you, David. Now, let's go to the last but not least. Lady, what do you have to tell us about this situation?
Life changed me a lot, and I say that it changed all people. One of them being lot at 24 hours. They was very frustrating, and at this time the economic situation was still very difficult. And Thank us we did not last war. The economic part was not affected, but the emotional part a little to the confinement.
Yes, lady. Lady, any problem? We are not listening to you.
No, no problem.
Oh, no more.
No more.
Okay, so I thought that you were just quiet because of the sound, because of the microphone, or maybe the signal or things like that. So in that way, I recommend you guys, it does not matter if you speak if you give a very large speech or if you give a very short speech, it does not matter. The idea is that you can start, you can continue, and you can finish, you can conclude the things that you are telling, because in that way when you just get shut, or when you just get quiet, like you don't continue saying more without concluding it, people are going to be there like waiting for more, like because you didn't finish your statement. You know what I mean, right? So it's important to conclude like and no more, and that's it, or maybe give something like a finished, like a final, excuse me, like a final idea that finish your argument. But it was nice. Thank you very much, lady. I could understand the things that you were explaining there about these two questions. Now let's go to the other one, the summary of the article that you received by your course director. um, this article is about teaching social skills. I don't know if you received that one, which is gonna be over here. This one, did you receive this by the course director? Teaching social emotional skills critical in pandemic?
Yes, teacher.
No, teacher, I'm not. I received other topic.
What was the
Is
topic?
what is fake news?
Okay, but that you received that email today because that is for the next encounter, for the next encounter. But this one you received it last Friday or last Saturday. The one that you are referring to is the new one that is going to be discussed next class.
Okay, teacher, thank you.
Remember that like you receive the document 8 or 7 days before the encounter so that you can analyze it, you can read it, and you can just like have a review of the document. So I'm gonna start with the ones that read it, and maybe you can give a review, like a scanning to the main topic of the article so that you can give a summary of that, okay? So let's start with Hasblady. Hasblady, can you give us please a summary about the article that you received?
Okay, teacher. The topic I received the fake news.
No, that is for the next encounter. The topic of teaching social emotional skills, critic in pandemic. Didn't you receive this article?
No, teacher. The this topic no, I not received.
Okay.
Um,
And what about you, David? Because remember that I told you when I created I think it was last week that I created the group, I told you that you have to be reading the article that the teacher sent. So if you don't receive any information previously, you have to tell us so that we can resend, or I can talk with the course director so that she can send that. But it was everywhere. This document is in your institutional email, in your personal email, if you provide that one as well. So it was sent last weekend. It was sent last weekend. So any of you know about this article?
Yes, teacher.
David, you received the article, right?
Right.
When did you receive that one? Last weekend.
Last weekend, teacher. Like Friday. maybe.
Okay, so Hasblady and Lady, you have maybe if you don't receive the next articles, let me know so that I can talk with your director and she can resend that to you. But let's listen to David. He is going to give us an idea of the article and maybe you can give an opinion about David's statement. Okay, guys? Tell me, David, what do you have to tell us about this article?
Okay, teacher, the article tell about the social emotional social emotional learning about the teaching this topic. It is very important to us to know this because since the pandemic situation, it was very difficult to face this new challenge for all the people around the world because these things change our lives in different ways, and specifically in the educational environment. The teachers and the students have to change some habits, like for example, before they studying at the school and face-to-face environments, and nowadays the things change for virtual environments, and now we need to use different devices like computers or tablets or cell phones to carry out the classes, to carry out the learning teaching process. And the article tells us about the difficulties and the feelings, the bad feelings that the children and some teenagers feel about these changes and about the use of the new technologies, because they spend a lot of time in front of the computer, and this causes a very stressful and um, afraid and anxious and nervous, and this was very common in these environments, in these virtual
Okay.
environments, and it's the struggle with it. We need to support, to give support someone students as a teachers, and support as a members of a family to support each other.
Okay, David, thank you very much. Time is up. You just covered like extra 43 seconds, but it was okay because in that way the others can just have an idea of the test. So, guys, as you listen to David, he was telling about the thing that happened in the pandemic situation that teachers and students were accustomed to study in their schools, and suddenly they have to study from houses, and it caused a lot of emotional like damage. So there was an author, okay. So this is the author, but she was explaining about a teacher from Philippines that he started to study the emotions of students, okay, and he decided that it was a nice idea to analyze students' emotions and social skills so that you can give a lesson plan and innovate in the during the classes, because you know that pandemics is something that affected not only children but also adult people, but it also affected the way of education because we were not accustomed to the distance, right? So that was the explanation they were doing, that the idea is to create like a mindset in which you can identify it, like what is the student going through, and in that way you can approach them with your lessons, with your topics or your activities, your assignments, because it's not for us to just go and give a topic so that students memorize that topic. You know, the idea is to bring meaningful learning experiences. Okay, so I don't know if maybe Hasblady or Lady are going to add something here, like an opinion. What do you think about this topic, guys? Hasblady, for
Uh,
example.
okay, teacher. My opinion is during pandemic, education was difficult because for children in attention when the teacher explaining in different topic.
Yes. So excuse me
eh,
one moment, Hasblady, because that is what I want you to discuss in this moment, all of us. Let's discuss about distant learning and its relevance in pandemic times. How the change in education affected kids and teachers? Because Lady, you were giving, excuse me, Hasblady, you were giving an idea about that. And then talk about personal and family affectations as well. Tell me, please. Continue.
Yes, teacher. Difficult for the teacher for give an explication of kids. March is, for example, age 4 or 6 years old. Is very difficult for the attention. Different, for example, teenager, because maybe they will focus attention in teacher. In 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 this moment, past moment, excuse me, the teacher in they invent didactic for example two different software or two technology for focus attention en los students and the student maybe can enjoy the topic.
Okay, yes. Do you have more
Yes,
to add here?
yes, teacher. I believe the student want to check on your partner, their partner, face to face. Technology is good, but the problem to face and is very important. Okay,
Yes.
teacher.
I
Thank
agree
you.
with you, Hasblady, because imagine that one day you are in a classroom and the other day you are in your house, in your living room, or maybe in your bedroom receiving the class. So it gave opportunity for teachers to access your house and also students to access teachers' houses. So it was a complete change. It was very radical because some students, maybe as you said, the little ones, I think the little ones were very affected because you know that they are very active kids and they are very dynamic and they want to stand up and they are very kinesthetic and stuff. So keeping them just like 1 or 2 hours sitting in a computer in front of a screen, it was very difficult for us teachers. So I think that was the time in which technology played an important part, and we have to look for a lot of resources and innovating websites that can be interactive for them, because the idea is to bring interactive resources, not to be very like passive in the learning process. Sometimes we made that mistake that we just give a lesson and we are the more active in the class, but the students are just like very like passive, like if just just improving their input. But what about the output of them? That is a nice question, and that was nice opinions, Hasblady. David, what do you think of this?
I think teacher it is an important point of view because in the younger people, in the children, it's so much hard to carry out the class with this kind of children because they are they have to they used to stay in face-to-face environments and interact with each other and interact with the teacher is very different. The way that you can interact in the virtual environment at the face-to-face environment is very different, and
Yeah.
for them it's very difficult to carry out this new way to learn. And the responsibility for the teachers is to create a new strategies to in order to they can understand in different ways with activities more relaxed, more I don't know, more interactive, uh, more didactic because they are too active in this participation at the class, and some of them can be distract for other things around. For example, in their home, uh, there are many distractions, and they can affect the learning process.
Yeah.
And it's the responsibility that like as a teachers can be a very good class.
That was nice. Yes, I agree with you because that is a big challenge for teachers to approach students. And autonomy plays an important part over here because if grown-up people, adults, sometimes they are not autonomous as they may be. So can you imagine that for children that they haven't worked on that skill yet, that they are just forming that skill of the autonomy so that they can just have good studying habits? So that was one of the biggest impact in education with little ones because it was evident in the cameras that they were concentrated in other stuff, that they were constantly standing up and the parents just sitting them down so that they can just be like focus on the class. So yeah, that is a big challenge, and that is the reason I said autonomy plays an important part when it comes to virtual education because you don't have anyone there to tell you what to do. You just have to be there. So for that reason, the importance for teachers to be very innovating in the websites or the resources that they use so that they can involve those students that are not very like attentive to the class. So it was a nice point of view, David. I have some feedback for you in the grammar, in the mechanics of your speaking. When you talk about plurals, so for example, adjectives in English, they don't have they don't have plural. So sometimes when you say different, the T sound becomes like an S sound. So it's gonna be something like difference. And difference is very different than different. You know what I mean, right? So when you say there are different teachers, for example, or there are different situations, it's not necessary to say there are different situations. You know what I mean? The T sound can be like a T, not like an S sound at the end. And then the plural, when you say a new strategies, no new strategies because you are talking about plural. Or when you say as a teacher, I can do the difference. Excuse me, I can make the difference as a teacher individually. But as teachers, we can do a lot of other stuff. You know what I mean? So remember to be aware of the plural. When you say asa is singular, but when you say as teachers, as animals, as humans, it's going to be the right way of using that as. So thank you very much, David. And now let's listen to Lady. What do you have to tell us, Lady?
And due to the pandemic, many people from educator and student had to vacate themselves because to the pandemic there were many changes. One of them had to change physical classroom to digital classroom. A teacher has to change all the projects they were going to do during the years and do it but in a virtual way. This affected physically many students because all they had to be connected to a computer. This affected emotionally many of the students and parents um, because they were not used to help their children with all their daily activities and besides explaining them. And the younger children required attention from the parent with the child and something they did not have educate time to do so, and the children and adolescents were affected no more.
Okay, thank you very much, Lady. So that was a nice point of view that you have, guys. But there is something important that you have to take into account when you are preparing your speech. It's okay for you to take notes. That is okay because in that way you can be like mind mapping, brainstorming, and giving some ideas of the things that you are going to say, like reference points or starting points, right? But when you are going to maybe give the whole test by reading it, you have to be clear and to imagine that you are not reading, that you are speaking. Okay, guys, sorry, I don't know what happened. I got disconnected from the class. Can you listen to me now?
Yes, teacher.
Okay, so I was giving a feedback about the last speech, and it was just I don't know which part did you listen to, but the idea is that when you are going, it's okay to take notes, and when you are going to read them, try to sound as if you were speaking, because if you continue reading like without taking into account the punctuation marks, people are not going to understand the idea, the main point. Okay, but anyways, it was great to listen like you were there thinking about the answers and the structure and things like that, because in that way you can practice your output. Remember that we live in a country in which English is no spoken, so we have Spanish all the time, the input of Spanish all the time. But because we live in a new era in which the globalization is something that is like demanding, we have a lot of English input. Okay, we have the advertisements, we have we have memes, excuse me, we have a lot of jokes or things like that, they come from other countries in which English is spoken, and in that way we can practice our input because we receive the things that we listen and the things that we read. But what about when it comes to writing it and then telling it, when you have to speak? That is the part that I recommend you to focus on. So reading is something very, very useful, and I recommend that. If you are going to do it in these encounters, it's okay, but try to read aloud and clearly, and try to sound natural. No go like several four gray boys have invented a variation of the game of tag when so. No, try to speak. Several four gray boys have invented a variation of the tag game. And you are reading it, but you are expressing it. In that way, you're going to sound more natural and clearer. You know what I mean, guys?
Yes, teacher.
So
Thank you, teacher.
I recommend you please to read the next article that is about fake news. That is something that is like a reality. A lot of times we get this like a lot of misinformation and a lot of stuff like that. So we have to be aware of the critical reading that we do in the social media, because some of the news are fake and some of the news aren't. So how can you notice them? How can you like realize that someone is telling the truth, or they just want to make a misinformation about the real facts? So I recommend you that. Remember, if you have any problem with the articles, if you have any question, you already have my Skype contact, so that you can just ask the requirement. Okay, so I think we have come to the end of this encounter, guys. Thank you very much for being here, and I hope to see you next time around. Have a nice weekend, excuse me.
Have a night. Thank you, teacher.
Okay, bye
Thank you,
bye.
teacher.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye bye.
See you next
And
weekend.
guys, I don't know, did you take the screenshot of the encounter? Don't forget about that evidence.
Yes, teacher. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, teacher. Thank you.
Bye
Goodbye.
bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.